Hi, everyone. My name is Shirley Bellardo, and I'm the Director of Clinical Services at Jewish Family and Children's Service of Greater Mercer County. Thank you so much for joining us for our webinar, Mental Health and Our Emotions. Our agency continues to be here to serve the community during this challenging time by adapting our services to meet your needs. We are proud to be able to share the professional insight of our licensed counselors in order to provide much needed emotional and psychological support as we navigate this crisis together. The presentation tonight will be led by Julie Harris. Julie is a Master's Social Work intern from Rutgers University, where she participates in the intensive weekend MSW program. Julie has been providing quality services to our clients at JFCS since October of 2019. Throughout the presentation, please feel free to submit questions or comments through the Q&A or chat link, and at the end of the presentation, Julie will be happy to answer them. So Julie, take it away.
Thank you, Shirley. Good evening, everyone. And as we begin the session, I want to welcome and thank you for joining. I'm grateful to be here this evening and share a bit about mental health and emotions. I'll share about the parts that we are made of, one of which is our mental health, some challenges that we face in our mental health and emotions, and how we can acknowledge our emotions, along with some helpful coping techniques and tools. As Shirley mentioned, we will have an opportunity to ask questions and share some things that work for you near the end of our time together. To begin, we are made up of three interconnected parts: body, mind, and soul. Mental health and emotions are located in the mind, though all are continually interacting, body, mind, and soul. For example, if you feel afraid, you might start sweating. It can be a bodily manifestation of fear. Likewise, if you see a beautiful image or place, you might sense a peaceful feeling of relaxation throughout your body. Next, it's important to give attention to our mental health. Just like our physical health, you might attend to it by exercising, eating healthy, seeing the doctor for checkups, and similar to spiritual health and attending to it may look like going to synagogue or other faith-based places of worship. It might look like reading and reflecting. Our mental health needs time and care. In order to care for it, we need to attend to it. Also, let's consider the connectedness between mental health and our emotions. Mental health is a constant component of who we are, where in comparison, emotions are temporary states of being. They come and go. Emotions can steer us in directions at times. They can be unexpected and seemingly come up as a complete surprise. They can be helpful to warn us as in apprehension or in danger of something. And they can also be difficult to manage at times. Some emotions that come up can provide challenges to us in managing them. They can come up because of stressors like current world events, as in the pandemic, where we are all facing lots of change and loss. Also, more recently, in the generations of injustice that are coming out and being addressed and expressed in our communities. They can come out due to triggers from loss, abandonment, overwhelm, loneliness, relational or trust issues, or from a raised voice, heaps of dirty dishes, noise, or tactile sensitivities. Having some type of trauma experience in your past can bring up emotions at times that are strong and hard to manage. These can be in everyday little things or bigger things that brings up emotions that can be challenging. In these cases, it can help to acknowledge our emotions. We can allow ourselves to feel and experience the emotion, giving some time and space to it. Emotions can be indicators that can alert us. They can be helpful or not so helpful. We can name emotions We can choose to share them at times. With coping and emotional roads, we acknowledge that there are different paths that we can go in with varying emotional states. It's good to take a moment, a pause, to consider what the different paths might look like. What does it look like if I go down one road with this emotion? What does it look like if I go down the other road with this emotion? Where do I end up? Is it where I want to be with it? Is it how I want to be? How can I cope with how I'm feeling? And where can I go with these emotions that I'm experiencing? Emotions can get the best of us, and they can steer us in paths that we don't want to go down at times. They can be harmful to us and to those around us. Alternatively, they can lead us into positive changes that can be healing also. In considering all these things, there are positive and negative coping mechanisms. This evening, we will aim for the positive path, which is an acronym provided by the Mental Health Association. PATH stands for pause, acknowledge, think, and help. We've touched a little on a few of these already. Pause, we take a moment with the emotion, and breathing techniques can help here. We'll talk more about them later. Secondly, we can acknowledge our emotions and feelings. Are you feeling sad, angry, hopeful, other? This can be an important step to take time in identifying the emotion. Then we add some steps here. If the emotion is not helpful, we can think through how to make ourselves feel better and ask ourselves, what will help me feel better? Additionally, we can take an action step to help ourselves. As we think through steps, it can be helpful to understand why we would do this. To some of us, the why is an important piece. The aims of positive coping are to decrease stress, keep emotions and issues in perspective so that we're able to work through them in a healthy way. Other goals of positive coping are to remain hopeful, feel more positive and stable, help us be able to focus in order to solve issues and what that might look like. First, we can consider, what does coping through self-care look like? It means that we can attend to or give care to our bodies, minds, and souls. For our bodies physically to be healthy, we aim to eat healthy and stay hydrated. This also affects our minds and souls. Exercise can be very helpful. Maybe you have a favorite way to exercise and it's an easy go-to for you. Some folks enjoy exercise by changing it up now and then and trying something new. You can exercise together or by yourself, maybe a few stretches of arms and legs. Resting to the best of your ability is another way of self-care that impacts body, mind, and soul. Aiming to get enough sleep and preparing for sleep hours are important parts of this. An added side note is that everyone should have a sense of safety, and if not, to get help. Lastly, taking time off or giving yourself a timeout can be a great means of self-care. This can vary widely for folks. It could be a day, an hour, or even a 5-minute break. These can all help with coping through caring for ourselves. We can also cope by connecting with others together. This can be with friends, family, colleagues, neighbors, clergy, counselors. It can be connecting with people at various organizations, as in how you've come to connect here at Jewish Family and Children's Services this evening. Connecting can be through helping others, small acts of kindness, like a smile or a word of encouragement or appreciation. It can be in volunteering. Connecting can be challenging in the current environment for sure, but a phone call, an email, text, video chat can really brighten your day as well as someone else's. Checking in on social media can be another way, but I add a note that it's good to monitor social media and that it can enable positive connectedness, or it can also make people feel bad at times So just an added note of care there with social media. Something we don't consider as often anymore is regular old mail, or as some call it, snail mail, through the US Postal Service. A quick note can really lift someone's day and your own at the same time for sending it. This one can be critical. We can cope with our emotions by problem solving. Some ways to problem solve can be identifying possible options, avoiding being fixed on one option, to remain flexible to the other options that might be possible, time managing or making a list or schedule, setting boundaries and asking, what is my role or place in this? Is this my role or is it someone else's to contend with this issue, possibly? What is the other's role or place in the situation? Importantly, you can never go wrong with being respectful and kind to yourself and others and problem solving together. One that we often work on is coping by processing emotions. You can do this by writing main points of what has happened if you like to write. Another idea for writers is journaling. Some people enjoy drawing, and they could draw about how they feel, perhaps drawing a picture of the situation. It can be an abstract or actual picture and does not have to be perfect or for sharing, but just for processing. One that we use sometimes also is role playing what happened with a friend or therapist to gain insight in the shared experience. This can be very helpful. And moving along to the next one, another is coping through creativity or hobbies you might have interest in. As earlier mentioned, drawing can be therapeutic for some, for others, writing, maybe a story, a poem, or a song. Painting, singing, journaling. An idea with journaling that has been helpful for some is recording positive things about life or about your day. It can be like a blessing book. Some people record 1, 3, or 10 things about their day to count to help them keep emotions in perspective. They can reflect back on it to revisit the positives. Some find gardening especially helpful coping tool, digging in the dirt and working with plants. Baking can be another tool. Working with Play-Doh that you can make at home or find in your local grocery store, perhaps. And lastly, dancing. This can be done in the kitchen alone or at a gathering. Other coping tools to help manage emotions are here, some of which you may already do that I found from the Mental Health Association also. Being outdoors in nature, even 5 to 15 minutes can make a big difference. Giving yourself the gift of unstructured time. It's okay to give yourself permission to schedule it. Reading a favorite book or faith-filled book, a poem or other verse, praying, watching a movie, YouTube, or other mood-lifting videos. There are some funny ones out there, or calming ones also, which brings me to the idea of listening to soothing music or other music you enjoy. Lastly and importantly, mindful breathing techniques, some found on YouTube also. We can try one out if you like, to have just a moment of calm and peace, breathing while counting into the count of 4. After a few times, you might consider moving from counting to a word or phrase. For example, the word peace, relax, I can do this, I've got this. So we can take a brief moment of quiet just to calm and feel that our breathing going in to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And out to the count of 4. 1, 2, 3, and 4. We can try it with the word peace and just saying peace to ourselves as we inhale. Peace, and peace as we exhale. Peace. And that having that quiet space of moment can feel really helpful in a moment of coping with emotions. So today we covered topics of attending to our bodies, minds, and souls that interact with mental health and our emotions. Hopefully you found some coping tools that pique your interest to give a try that maybe you've not considered before and might be helpful to you in all you deal with each day. Thank you for being here and spending the time together with us today. We'll take a look at any questions, or maybe you want to share out about something that helps you. Shirley, do we have any comments in the chat possibly?
We don't yet, Julie, but I'm sure that we will have them momentarily.
Okay.
Sometimes it takes folks a while to get through the webinar. So we are getting a note. Can you expand on boundary setting? It's something I struggle with at work and in personal relationships. Setting boundaries to protect my time, which affects my levels of stress and feeling overwhelmed by tasks.
Yeah, so boundaries can be helpful in just noticing where. I think some doctors use the example of thinking about a property, or you might even say, if it's a work situation, your desk space. Like, what is something that's supposed to be on your desk as opposed to perhaps something that's supposed to be on someone else's desk? And finding that area. Sometimes if you're able to help someone out, that's great. But sometimes it's really not in your span of ability to take the time to do that. And it's okay to say, I'm not able to do that right now. Or maybe there's a way to say, maybe in a few days I can get to that and see if the time works for people. I mean, that's one way and one example. The more you think about boundaries and work on them, the more you become cognizant and thoughtful of them, and it becomes a little bit more automatic to find areas where it's happening, like where, oh, that doesn't feel right. I think that's out of my lane. And you might come up with words to practice, like, that feels out of my lane, type of thing, to help and to be respectful in the conversations as they come up. That's helpful.
That's a great answer, Julie. I also think sometimes learning to say no, just know our limits and protect ourselves, and ask the person to either, go to another resource, or, maybe come back to you another time when you can help them. But right now you need your space and value your time. It's very important.
Yeah. Thank you, Shirley.
Let's see, do we have any other comments or questions? I think you provided so much information, Julie.
Let's see.
If someone is new to writing or drawing, not a poet or an artist, but wants to consider this as a processing technique, how do you recommend that they get started?
I would say even just jotting down anything can be chipping away at processing. Anything at all. I think just taking a few notes down, and some people are very detail oriented, where pouring through tons of writing is helpful for them, and other people find just a word or two can help kind of process through the information. I think, being kind to yourself and not feeling like it has to be perfect, or but just to get it out can help. And the drawing, the same thing. It can be stick figures even and still be very helpful to processing. And so not to pressure yourself as you get started in those type of techniques with coping.
Great. And we have a question from Morticia. She says, thank you for the reminder of meditation and giving ourselves permission. How about balancing home and work? Home and work with the move to virtual. Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's a very timely question, Marticia. And I appreciate that. I think, especially balancing home and work, it's important to think about structure. I know I've heard a lot of our clients say that structure is helpful to them, and like having a schedule, a routine, and making sure it's using your time the way that you want to with your values. Sometimes it helps to make a pie chart of that, or just to have a calendar and write down, how much time you want to spend on each item through the day. I think taking breaks is important, every few hours, especially if you're sitting a lot with working and home tasks, to take a break every hour, even, or every other hour, and kind of that breathing outside a little bit, a few steps outside your door can help a lot. And then moving to virtual, it is important to have breaks, because there is a certain wear and tear that just being on camera can provide if you're on camera a lot, and taking the breaks for that and being kind to yourself, right? Thanks, Morticia.
Let's see. That might be it for now, Julie.
Okay.
Let me just see. Yep, I think we can call this a wrap. I think this was a very good webinar, very helpful. Certainly, if you have any additional questions or are looking for more one-on-one support, please know that JFCS has phone-in drop-in hours every day, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday from 10 a.m. till 12 noon, and Tuesday and Thursday from 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. You are welcome to call in during these hours to connect with a counselor for a 30-minute support session. And you can do so by calling 609-987-8100, dial 0, and you'll be connected to our administrative secretary, who will transfer you to a counselor. In addition to our weekly webinars, we will soon be introducing new, more interactive virtual events that will give you the opportunity to engage with community members in an activity or discussion facilitated by one of our counselors. Please visit our website at www.jfcsonline.org for upcoming events and more information, and visit our COVID-19 resource page. At JFCS, we are here for you during this new normal and throughout the healing and rebuilding process. In addition to our daily drop-in hours, we are accepting new clients and will provide teletherapy via Zoom or telephone until our offices reopen. Thank you again for joining us this evening, and we'll look forward to seeing you at a future webinar.